She let Cowboy and his little girl stay in her shed, unaware he was the new town mayor. The knock came at 2 a.m. 3 sharp raps that made Sarah Hutchins grab the shotgun from beside her bed. She'd been expecting trouble for weeks now, ever since the letters started coming from the county office. "Please." The voice was male, strained. "My daughter needs help." Sarah cracked the door, keeping the chain latched. A man in a torn denim jacket stood hunched over a small girl, maybe 8 years old. Blood streaked down his temple, darker patches soaking through his shirt. "What happened to you?" Truck rolled off Highway 9. Been walking for hours. The little girl's eyes were wide, unblinking. No tears, just that hollow stare Sarah recognized from her own childhood. "Daddy's hurt bad," the girl whispered. Sarah's grip loosened on the shotgun. "There's a hospital in town." "No hospitals." His voice carried an edge that made Sarah step back. "Please, just somewhere to rest." "I don't know you." "Name's Jake. This is Lily." He swayed slightly, catching himself against the doorframe. "I can pay." Sarah studied the blood on his hands, the way he held his ribs. The girl's clothes were clean despite everything, carefully tended even in crisis. "You running from something? Aren't we all?" The answer hit too close to home. Sarah unlatched the chain, stepping aside. "There's a shed out back. It's got a bed, running water." "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." Sarah led them through her kitchen, past a stack of legal papers on the table. "I'm not in the business of harboring fugitives." "We're not fugitives. Then what are you?" Jake lifted Lily into his arms as they crossed the yard toward the converted shed. "Tired, mostly." Sarah pulled open the door, switching on the overhead bulb. The space was sparse but clean, with a single bed, a washstand, and a small table. "Daddy." Lily's voice was barely audible. "I'm okay, sweetheart." Sarah watched Jake settle his daughter on the bed, his movements careful despite his injuries. Something about the gentleness in his touch, the practiced way he checked her for hurt, told Sarah more than his words had. "I'll bring bandages," she said. "You don't have to." "No," Sarah replied, already heading back toward the house. "I don't." Sarah returned with a first aid kit and a pot of coffee, finding Jake slumped against the shed wall, while Lily sat cross-legged on the bed, swinging her feet. "Daddy, why didn't the airbags work?" Lily asked, tracing patterns on the quilt. Jake's eyes flicked to Sarah. "Old truck, sweetheart. Didn't have them." "But you said it was a 2018 Ford." Sarah set the coffee down slowly, watching Jake's face tighten. "I misspoke. It was older. You never misspeak about trucks." Lily's voice held that matter-of-fact tone children used when catching adults in contradictions. Sarah opened the first aid kit, pulling out antiseptic. "Where were you headed before the accident?" "Through town. Just passing through." "To where?" "North." "North where?" Jake winced as Sarah dabbed at the cut on his temple. "Does it matter?" "Daddy, you said we were going to stay somewhere for a while. You said we had business." "Lily, that's enough." The girl's lower lip trembled, but she stayed quiet. Sarah recognized the practiced silence of a child who'd learned when to stop pushing. "She's tired," Sarah said, offering Jake an out he clearly needed. "We both are." Sarah handed him a clean towel. "There's soap and hot water in the basin. I'll fix some food." "You don't need to feed us." "Everyone needs to eat." Back in her kitchen, Sarah stood at the window, watching the shed. Through the small window, she could see Jake's silhouette moving carefully, favoring his left side. The injuries looked real enough, but something about his story felt rehearsed. 20 minutes later, she carried a tray of sandwiches and milk back to the shed. Lily had fallen asleep curled against a pillow, but her eyes opened when Sarah entered. "Are you a grandma?" Lily asked. "No, honey, no children." "You're nice like my grandma was. She always made food when people were hurt." Jake straightened. "Lily doesn't usually talk to strangers." "I'm not a stranger anymore." Sarah set the tray down. "Am I, Lily?" The girl shook her head, reaching for a sandwich. "Miss Sarah's our friend now." "Is that what we're calling this?" Jake's voice carried a warning Sarah couldn't quite place. What would you call it? Jake met her eyes. Temporary. Sarah smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Most things are. By the third morning, Lily was helping Sarah collect eggs in the henhouse while Jake mended the broken gate latch. The routine felt dangerous in its comfort. "Miss Sarah, do you live here all alone?" Lily asked, cradling a brown egg in both hands. "Just me and the chickens. Don't you get scared?" "Sometimes." Sarah watched Jake working near the fence, his movements too precise for someone supposedly unfamiliar with tools. "What about you? Do you and your daddy move around a lot?" "Daddy says we go where the work is." "What kind of work does he do?" Lily shrugged. "Important stuff. He talks to people in suits." Sarah's hand stilled on the chicken wire. Jake had told her he did construction, odd jobs, whatever paid. She glanced toward him again, noting the calluses on his hands were too clean, too evenly distributed. "Lily, come help me with this latch," Jake called out. The girl ran over, leaving Sarah with her doubts. She carried the eggs inside, passing the kitchen table, where she'd moved the legal papers to a drawer. No sense making her guests uncomfortable. That evening, they shared dinner on Sarah's porch. Jake had showered and changed into clothes Sarah's brother had left behind years ago. Clean-shaven. He looked younger, more polished than the desperate man who'd appeared at her door. "You're healing fast," Sarah observed. "Good genes. Must be nice having those." Jake's fork paused halfway to his mouth. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. Just making conversation." Lily yawned, leaning against Jake's shoulder. "Can we stay a few more days, Daddy?" "We'll see, sweetheart." Sarah stood, gathering plates. "She's welcome as long as needed." "And me?" The question hung between them like smoke. Sarah met his eyes, seeing calculation behind the casual tone. "That depends." "On what?" "On who you really are." Jake's smile didn't waver, but something cold flickered behind it. "I'm exactly who I said I was. A drifter who talked to people in suits." The silence stretched until Lily broke it with another yawn. Jake lifted her into his arms, the domestic gesture at odds with the tension crackling between the adults. "Good night, Miss Sarah," Lily mumbled. "Good night, honey." Jake paused at the screen door. "Thank you for everything." Sarah watched them disappear into the shed, then locked her front door for the first time since they'd arrived. The next afternoon, Martha Keene's pickup rattled up Sarah's drive, dust clouds announcing her arrival like a warning. Sarah watched in the kitchen window as her neighbor climbed out, clutching a pie tin and wearing an expression that meant gossip. "Sarah, honey, you'll never guess what's happening in town," Martha called before she'd even reached the porch. Sarah glanced toward the shed, where Jake was teaching Lily to whittle on the front step. "Come on in, Martha." New mayor finally showed up. Can you believe it? 3 weeks late for his own inauguration. Martha bustled into the kitchen, setting down the pie. Of course, nobody expected much from some outsider. Outsider? From back east somewhere. Real slick type, according to Betty at the diner. Came in asking all sorts of questions about property records, land disputes. Sarah's coffee mug froze halfway to her lips. "What kind of questions?" "About your grandmother's old case, for one. The Hutchins land dispute from way back. Why would a new mayor care about that?" Martha leaned closer, voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Word is he's here specifically about your situation. County sent him to clean up loose ends." Through the window, Sarah watched Jake demonstrate knife techniques to Lily, his hands steady and sure. Not the hands of a drifter. "What's this mayor's name?" Sarah asked. "Jacob Morrison." Jake Morrison. Funny thing, though, nobody's actually seen him yet. Supposed to be staying at the hotel, but the desk clerk says he never checked in. The coffee mug slipped from Sarah's fingers, shattering against the floor. Jake Morrison. Jake. Not a coincidence. "You all right, honey?" Sarah knelt to gather the pieces, her mind racing. "Fine. Just clumsy. There's something else. He's got a little girl with him. Daughter, they say. Lost his wife last year. Poor thing." Each word hit Sarah like a physical blow. The careful way he'd avoided giving his last name. The expensive watch he thought she hadn't noticed. The way Lily had mentioned people in suits. Sarah, you look like you've seen a ghost. Sarah stood, ceramic shards cutting into her palm. I need you to leave, Martha. What's wrong? Did I say something? Please, just go. Martha gathered her purse, confused. Well, if you're sure. But honey, if this new mayor comes sniffing around about your land, you call me. Don't let him bully you. Sarah watched Martha drive away, then walked to a window. Jake was still on the shed steps, but now he was looking directly at her through the glass, his expression unreadable. Lily waved. Miss Sarah, come see what Daddy taught me. Sarah raised her bleeding hand to wave back, knowing now that the man who'd shown up broken and desperate was the same man sent to destroy her. Sarah waited until dark before crossing the yard to the shed. Through the small window, she could see Jake reading to Lily by the lamp's warm glow, the picture of domestic peace that made her stomach turn. She knocked once and entered without waiting for permission. We need to talk. Jake looked up from the children's book, his face carefully neutral. Lily, why don't you wash up for bed? But you haven't finished the story. I'll finish it later, sweetheart. Lily climbed down from the bed, sensing the tension crackling between the adults. She moved toward the wash basin, but Sarah could see her listening. Martha Keene stopped by today. That's nice. She told me about the new mayor, Jacob Morrison. Jake's hand stilled on the book's pages. What about him? Cut the act, Jake. I know who you are. The silence stretched until Lily's voice cut through it, small and confused. Daddy? What's Miss Sarah talking about? Jake closed the book slowly, his mask finally slipping. When he looked up, the desperate stranger was gone, replaced by someone harder, more calculating. How long have you known? Since today. But I should have figured it out sooner. The watch, the way you handle tools, the fact that you knew exactly how to fix my gate latch. Daddy, I don't understand. Jake stood, moving between Sarah and his daughter. Lily, go wait on the porch. No, this isn't a request. I said no. Lily's voice carried a strength that surprised them both. Stop talking like I'm not here. Sarah knelt to Lily's level. Your daddy lied to me. Honey, he's not who he said he was. Everyone lies sometimes. Not like this. Sarah's eyes never left Jake's face. He came here to take my house away. Is that true, Daddy? Jake's jaw clenched. It's complicated. No, it's not. Sarah stood, anger finally breaking free. You were sent here to force me off my land. The county wants this property, and you're their cleanup crew. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? Let me guess. Make me an offer I can't refuse, and if that doesn't work, find some legal technicality to remove me. The county has legitimate concerns about the property ownership. My grandmother's case was decided 40 years ago. New evidence has come to light. Sarah laughed, but there was no humor in it. What evidence? That a woman can't hold land alone. Lily moved closer to her father, tears starting to fall. Daddy, you promised we were done moving. You said this time we could stay. Jake's composure cracked completely. Lily, I never said that. You did. In the truck. You said after this job, we'd find somewhere belong. The words hung in the lamplight like an accusation. Sarah watched Jake's face crumble as he realized his daughter had been listening all along, understanding more than he'd given her credit for. So what now, Mayor Morrison? Sarah asked. Do you finish the job, or do you remember what it feels like to be human? Sarah smiled, and for the first time since it arrived, it was genuinely cold. You want to know the truth, Jake? I've known who you were since the second day. Jake's face went white. That's impossible. Your picture was in the county Gazette 3 weeks ago. New mayor, big plans for development. Sarah pulled a folded newspaper from her back pocket. I recognized you the morning after Martha brought me this. Then why didn't you throw us out? Because I wanted to see what kind of man would use his own daughter as cover for a con job. Lily looked between them, her small hands clenched into fists. Miss Sarah, what's happening? Your daddy came here to steal my house, honey, but he brought you along to make himself look harmless. That's not true. Jake's voice cracked. I never meant for her to be involved. But she is involved. She's been your shield this whole time. Sarah knelt beside Lily again. Tell me, sweetheart, has your daddy ever taken you on business trips before? Lily shook her head slowly. No, because this isn't business. This is personal. Sarah stood, her gaze cutting into Jake. My grandmother didn't just lose a court case 40 years ago. She was driven off this land by men in suits who thought a widow couldn't fight back. The county records show clear irregularities in the original deed. The county records show whatever powerful men want them to show. Jake's hands trembled as he reached for his daughter. Lily, come here. But Lily stepped away from him, moving closer to Sarah instead. Why did you lie to me, Daddy? I was trying to protect you. From what? From knowing that sometimes good people have to do bad things to survive. Sarah laughed bitterly. Good people? You came to my door bleeding and desperate, and I gave you shelter. I fed your daughter. I let her feel safe for the first time in months. How do you know she hasn't felt safe? Because I was her once. A little girl watching her father make choices that broke something inside him every single day. The lamplight flickered, casting shadows that made Jake's face look hollow. What do you want from me? I want you to choose, Mayor Morrison, your job or your soul. It's not that simple. It never is. Sarah moved toward the door, then paused. But some choices define who we really are, and your daughter is watching. Dawn broke gray and cold over a shed where 3 people sat in silence, the weight of unspoken decisions hanging between them like smoke. Lily had fallen asleep against Sarah's shoulder sometime during the night, while Jake sat across from them, staring at his hands. She trusts you, he said finally. Children know who's safe. I was supposed to make you an offer. $50,000 for the property. And if I refused, find a way to invalidate your claim. Sarah stroked Lily's hair gently. Your grandmother's signature on the original deed was forged, wasn't it? Jake nodded. The county knew. They've always known. But they waited until now to act on it. Development money talks louder than justice. Lily stirred, opening her eyes to find herself caught between 2 broken adults. Are we leaving today, Daddy? Jake looked at his daughter, then at Sarah, then at the official papers he'd pulled from his jacket pocket during the long night. What if we stayed? Here, I could resign, find other work. Sarah's laugh was soft, tired. And live how? They'd destroy you for choosing the wrong side. Maybe, but Lily would have a home. The little girl sat up straighter. Really, Daddy? We could stay with Miss Sarah? Jake met Sarah's eyes across the small space. If she'll have us. It won't be easy. They'll send someone else. Then we'll face them together. Sarah looked down at Lily, then back at Jake. In his face, she saw the echo of her own grandmother's fight, the same stubborn refusal to surrender what mattered most. There's a spare room in the house, she said quietly. Jake smiled for the first time since she'd known him, and it transformed his entire face. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Sarah replied, but she was smiling too. We got a war to fight.